My name is Tony Rozier. I'm the owner of Tonnie's Minnis, based here in Newark, New Jersey, in the Central Ward. Exact address is 228 Halsey Street. I'm actually from New York City, born and raised in Harlem. Started up baking at age 7, next to my grandmother, holding the mixing bowl. I learned that by doing that, I will be allowed to lick the spoon first. I actually fell in love with baking at a very young age. Was baking apple pies, cookies, brownies. It became something where if you asked me to bake it for you, I'd be the first to raise my hand. Yes, I got it, I can do it.
Okay, so my name is Gideon, and the owner of Gideon's Needle, and then Gideon's Needle, it's, you hear the needle and you know it's about sewing. What we do is we do custom-made clothes. It's bespoke. Everything we do here is bespoke. Yes, we have custom-made and we have bespoke. Bespoke is something that you make for people to talk about. You were here, you saw how a customer was very happy. These are what makes us happy. So we do things for people to be happy and then talk about.
So my name's Kenny Moss. I'm from Union originally, and currently I'm a young black entrepreneur. I'm 22 years old. I own 8-to-8 Barbershop in West Orange, New Jersey. We specialize in men's grooming and, pampering, whatever you want to call it. And we probably have some of the dopest barbers. I have a big clientele, always booked. We shampoo here for a great price. You get a hot towel shave, whatever you think of, we offer it, pull up. My cut is crispy, as you can see, fresh out the chair. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's it.
I'm Bailey of Bailey Interiors. I've been in business on and off for about 15 years, solely in business since 2015 with my own interior design practice. I am well known for my artistic walls. A lot of people tend to recognize me from doing my hand-painted walls, and people seem to seek me out for that as well.
So my name is Kai Campbell. I guess I'm the owner of Walla Food and Beverage Group, where we have Burger Walla, Bragman's Delicatessen, and the soon-to-be-open The Yard, as well as other Walla branded projects. We've been in business for 5 years, almost in a month, and I guess our specialty is taking what appears to be normal and what appears to be simple and making it excellent within our perspective and our experience.
What drove me to want to start my own business? I would say basically knowing that there's wealth in ownership. So as far as being a barber, it just wasn't good enough for me. It was always the bigger picture and how I can then create generational wealth for my family and their kids. And the only way to do that is through ownership. I can't, and I'm not really one to work for someone my whole life. Being my own boss was something that I always wanted to do. And so I felt that it was really important to be an owner.
At the time, it wasn't me wanting to own a business. It was more of me kind of supplying demand. My first order was an order from a friend of mine named Tina Pearson. At the time, she heard I baked, cookies, cupcakes, et cetera. And she asked me to bake her a dozen oatmeal raisin cookies with walnuts. I said, of course, I'll bake you anything you want for $2.50 a bag. So she took her first order. I went home and bought the bags, bought the flour, the sugar, baked her a special order, and then gave her an order. She paid me the $2.50. And ultimately, 5 hours later, she had a list of 75 names she handed to me, which were people who wanted cookies the next day. And that was the beginning of the Tonnie's Minnis scenario at the time of me supplying people with baked goods. I never really wanted to own my own business. It was one of those things where the phone would ring for orders from friends and family, and then it grew into what is now to be a business called Tonnie's Minnis.
There was a need for black people to start up for themselves and do something that I think people need, not want. So I decided that, we set up this business to just cater for the needs of people, and we saw a problem, and then having the solution, we decided to set up Gideon's Needle to just help people with what they want.
It's interesting because I feel like it kind of found me. I was working throughout my life. I've been working in either corporate sales as a software sales rep or technology sales rep, and I even ventured off into trying broadcast journalism on my own, but I started working as a realtor, and I kind of stumbled across interior design. And how I did that was I had a $1.3 million listing in South Orange, Maplewood, and it needed some sprucing up in order for us to get that asking price. And I brought in a very good friend of mine who's extremely stylish. At the time, she came in and she was hired to stage the home. From there, we started our business. That same day, our business was formed. We didn't have a name for it, and we knew that it was an exciting venture that we were about to embark on. And from that point on, we had referral after referral after referral.
I think that, I grew up in the 80s and 90s in Newark, and there was a lot of sense of and promotion of self-determination. I went to an elementary school called Harriet Tubman here in the city, and it was always about self-empowerment, starting with the education, and then following that through with action. And I think that, so at an early age, I just learned to hate it's become a positive word, and in some aspects it's a negative word, but I learned to hustle a lot, and so I would do things as like selling candy on my own, to then, painting houses and doing odd jobs on my own, and then starting my own business in college in different aspects, and then that graduated to always wanting to have my own business. Just knowing that I had things I wanted to get out. Like, you're a filmmaker, there's stories you want to tell, there are things that you want to do. I just always had stuff that I wanted to get out. And being fortunate enough to go around the world and see other things, and thinking that it was always a better way to do something, and seeing that, and why wasn't my community getting those opportunities or afforded those same things, and saying like, shit, well, if you don't respect us enough, and if you're not doing it, you don't want to invest in our community, we should just do it ourselves, you know what I mean?
Some of the hardships that we faced as a business when we first got started was really having the capital to begin. I think that was the hardest thing. We didn't have the funding. We really had to start up our business with our own personal funds. And I think the next biggest hardship I would say that we had was we really didn't have a lot, or anyone rather, in our community to look to as an example. We had one set of mentors, and they were really supportive through the journey. But other than that, I didn't see other Black businesses. I didn't see other young couples that were doing anything at all to even ask for advice. So I would say seeing similar out there to even have a model.
Where do I begin? Hardships to continue. I mean, part of business is understanding what that means. Hardship just means, for me, never lost, always a lesson. So my very first hardship was not knowing the value of a penny in business. Crossing your T's, dotting your I's, and counting every single penny that comes into your business is one of the most important things in owning a business. And it took years to really finally understand what that meant. So my first hardship was supplying someone with cakes, or honestly, Barnes & Nobles, with cookies that I was retailing to them for 30 cents that they were selling for $1, and it was costing me well over the amount that I expected. So that was my first hardship that I accepted, that continued for many years. But I used that to my advantage. By saying I'm in Barnes & Nobles allowed me to open up opportunities in other locations. But that was my first hardship, for sure, yeah.
I would say, being that the business was already established before I purchased it, I inherited employees. I didn't necessarily hire brand new employees where they would respect me as their boss. So there was a lot of like confrontation that I would run into with, you know, employees that had already been there, because they just simply couldn't respect me or look at me in that light as, you know, me being someone with a higher position than them within the business, and they just couldn't really respect it. So my advice would always be to just, if you're starting a business or you're purchasing a business that was already existing, always clean slate, start fresh, because only one that's going to respect you is someone that comes into the business knowing that you're the owner and that you run things.
So some of the hardships that we faced when we first got started didn't really happen initially. So it's funny how it happened. Like I said, we got referral after referral after referral. And before you know it, we had a business, we had a check in our hand before we even had a name for our business. Things went swimmingly well from that point on. And we were staging homes, and then from staging homes, once I sold the home as a realtor that we staged, I was again called in to decorate the new home or design the new home. So my business partner and I had both ends of the spectrum, as well as owning the real estate portion of it, the real estate sales portion of it. But then something unexpected happened. The real estate market basically went under. And so what happened as a result of that is that there was no longer a desire to have your home staged. Like, you couldn't afford to do that because you knew you weren't going to get, homeowners knew that they weren't going to get bid wars on their houses anymore because the market had shifted. So when the market shifted, furniture stores started to close down. So our business completely just took a turn for the worse. And I ended up going back into corporate America. This was after maybe 2 to 3 years in business. I went back into corporate America, and I would only take on design jobs, on the side, on the weekends.
The biggest challenge was time management, and realizing that when I first started, I lost 2 partners the first week. I wasn't supposed to have this type of work schedule. I had a young family, 2 young kids, 2 children under the age of 2. It wasn't supposed to be like this, you know what I mean? But I had already made the investment, and I have to. My mom has this mantra that she would drill into me: be the job, great or small, do it right or not at all. So I couldn't not do it because I had too much invested, and so I knew I had to do it the right way. So the greatest hardship was really that sacrifice of spending time with my kids and, my family and your friends. I lost a lot of friends, a lot of family doing this. Working on your own is not for the faint of heart. You know what I mean? You're going to have to make a lot of sacrifices for your time and your energy. And those were the hardest things. And realizing that, it's cold out here. There's no job to fall back on. There's no benefits to fall back on. It all comes down to you. You know what I mean? So those were the hardest things.
So the lessons I've learned over the years from hardships. Better response is a snapshot of things not to do and to do. One, always find people in your circle who know a little more than you do, who can give you advice based on their experience versus their hearsay. I've had lots of people in my circle who are millionaires, multimillionaires for that matter, and are well-to-do. And one of the hardships was when they were telling me the do's and don'ts, I didn't think they knew what they were talking about completely because they were not standing in my shoes. But they were giving me the advice from their experiences over their years of experience of hearing other scenarios. So the hardship at Barnes & Noble's continued on and had other hardships when it came to giving incorrect pricing, and that was one of the hardest ones. Another scenario was I was supplying BBQs 4 or 5 years ago with 20,000 cupcakes a day. And despite the fact that someone had said that deal does not sound like the best deal, and if someone was well-to-do who had experience, I was like, no, actually, I'm gonna, actually I never responded to him. But when I had the meeting amongst my team, we decided, despite the advice that was given to me by several people, that it was not the best thing to do, that I was going to do it. So one, to circle back, make sure you identify someone in your circle you can talk to, to give you the best advice, and listen to that advice. And then another hardship, of course, is jumping into something you are not clear on exactly what it is you're doing. So when you are making a decision, you have to have done some research before making that decision versus, can you do it? Yes, I can. Now the yes, I can should be in life, yes, I can. My motto, as Jay would say it, is, difficult takes a day, impossible maybe a week, which means that if it's impossible, you give me a week to figure it out, but I'm going to put the energy into it to figure it out and get it done. So those are some of the things that, when you're dealing with hardships, that's what will lead to a hardship by you not doing your homework or not listening to someone who's giving you the best advice, and even worse, not having someone to give you the right advice and whatever you're doing in life.
No's, and no doesn't mean no. No to me means try again. So when you hear the word no, it's not failure. It's like, okay, maybe you are not ready yet. Like we were told no for like 4 or 5 times before we got this place, and we didn't give up. We came back, and then here we are. So just keep pushing for your goal, strike hard, and until you score that goal, you don't give up. Don't take no for an answer.
If you're starting a business or you're purchasing a business that was already existing, always clean slate, start fresh, because only one that's going to respect you is someone that comes into the business knowing that you're the owner and that you run things.
I have learned that if you don't share your story with your community, with your family, with your friends, they will never know, because what you see on the outside is never really what it is. And because I didn't have that model, I had no one to go to say, hey, we're starting this business. Do you have any advice? So I think it's so important for us to tell our stories to our children, to our friends, to our family, because someone else needs that support just as we did.
In business, you have to constantly learn, because I tell people I have a degree in economics. I know how to use a knife, but I also read Popular Mechanics, you know what I mean? Because on any given day, a refrigerator might break, the HVAC might not work, a screw falls out here, I know how to talk to people. A staff might be upset with another member of the staff and they'd be ready to quit. So you're constantly evolving to learn, how to do things much more efficiently, how to do them better. That's what my religion teaches me, is that you're always constantly trying to achieve perfection, you know what I mean? I believe we are but for the unrealized potential of God, you know what I'm saying? So it's like you have to continue to try to achieve perfection. And so we learn on it every day, you know what I mean? So from those hardships, what I learned is that I have to be committed to a certain standard and not letting that standard fall by the wayside. And that hasn't always been the case. Some things don't go as planned. They never go as planned, but you have to be committed to a process, you have to be committed to a product, and you have to be committed to a way in which to achieve all of those things, you know what I mean?
Being a black business owner has many meanings. There's an empowerment behind being able to employ, do for others, and enjoy it when you're an owner in general. But when you see people of color come into your business and are surprised to know that you are a person of color, or you are someone who can share an experience with others, allowing them to see that as an option for them because they're a person of color. And then just, of course, being someone who is a man of God and a man of the people, who will always believe in sharing with others the importance of taking opportunity at every chance they get.
Well, it means a lot, it really means a lot, because whether you like it or yes, you know, like we go through a lot of challenges, and even when you start, it's like everything will be against you. So we coming this far makes me feel very happy that I didn't give up on something that I wanted to do. And then it makes me wake up feeling that, you know, I'm not there yet, but I'm on my way to greatness. It makes me feel that, you know, every day, like every step that we take forward, you know, we are breaking barriers. You know, it's not going to be one day, but, you know, we will get there. It makes me very happy. Solving solutions, like, you know, making people happy. You know, like I don't have customers, I have family. Every customer that walks in here is a family member, and that's how we treat people. So it makes me feel like I'm extending my family, like I don't have extended family. You know, every customer that walks here, we treat you like a family member, and then we make you part of us. So it makes me feel very good. And yes, there are some challenges, but then day in, day out, we keep breaking those barriers, and one day we're just gonna be at the top.
I take pride in being an owner, whether I was black, white, or 100% Spanish. That's just in me. I'm an owner, I'm an entrepreneur, and you know, I mean, it's just even more of a blessing that I am black, because people my age, I'm young, I'm 22. I purchased the business when I was 21, and to my peers and people that look up to me, or younger people that you don't even know are watching you, and they are. You know, it gives them a sense of hope, and like, you know, he came from the same place I did, you know what I'm saying? So that makes him feel like he can now do it, you know what I'm saying? And then that's how just black people overall end up evolving and slowly closing that racial financial gap that we have between, you know, us and white people.
I was invited recently to go on to speak on a panel at the New York School of Interior Design by the Black Interior Designers Network. I realized that it was bigger than what I thought, right? I realized that not only was it important for me to create a legacy for my children and my family, but that it was also important for me to represent for my culture, because in my industry, there are not a lot of us, and there are not a lot of us in the magazines and the publications. There are not a lot of us getting the big ticket, you know, jobs. So when I was on that panel, and the young women and older women and established women came up to me after the panel to speak to me, they spoke about how they had a passion for this years ago, but decided not to do it because they didn't see anyone like me in that space, and they didn't feel, and their families didn't feel like it was a lucrative job, right? A lucrative opportunity for them, that they would do well. So they kind of dismissed their passions to do other things. And I realized at that moment that it is super necessary for me to do what I'm doing for a multitude of reasons, not just selfish reasons, and not just the obvious reasons to make money, but also, right, to help others.
To me, it means everything. You know, I'm from a family that is from the South, both sides of my family for the most part. I'm only a few generations removed from being enslaved, and my relatives and ancestors being enslaved. I am only a couple generations removed from, you know, my family being sharecroppers and bootleggers. And then the next generation, every single member of that generation had advanced degrees from college in the South, you know what I mean? Whether or not they were chemists, nurses, or teachers, or educators, you know what I mean? So to me, to be a black business owner is just, when people tell me, you know, what am I? I'm a sharecropper and a bootlegger, and I'm chasing freedom, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to chase all of those things that, you know, were denied, you know, proud people, hardworking people, and there are literally people that have put their lives on the line. You know, my mother's had a shotgun to the back of her head. So I cannot deny that process and then cheating that process by not being proud of being a black business owner and trying to do it in a certain way, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, and it's not even that far. Like my mother, you know, she was like Avon Barksdale. She wanted her, and Stringer Bell, she wanted her corners, you know what I'm saying? And she did that because she wanted me to have a better way so that I could have some level of self-determination and doing what I'm doing today. You know what I'm saying? Like, so to be a black business owner means to knowing that history and, you know, being proud of that history, and that being at the forefront of my consciousness when we do things and making sure that we're doing it the right way and striving for that freedom. You know, I'm chasing freedom and excellence, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's what it means to me to be a black business owner, is to not assume that we're less than. You know, I have a business, one of which is on one of the worst blocks historically in this city. It was one of the worst blocks in the 80s, one of the worst blocks in the 90s, it's one of the worst blocks to this day. And people think that because of where it is, it's less than, you know what I'm saying? But, you know, Bragman's Deli, if I don't care where you are, we serve one of the best, you know, original Jewish style sandwiches that you are going to get. And it's made by people that are from or within or in this community. And it's not less than, it's better than, you know what I'm saying? And that's really what we're chasing, the stigma about being a black-owned business and it being less than, even for ourselves or for our customers and for anybody. I don't really care. I don't give a shit. We are striving for excellence on all levels. You know what I mean? So yeah.
Have I ever been in business meetings where I was concerned about being too black? Absolutely. Look at me. I mean, honestly, I am of a very dark complexion, right? Look at my hair. I stick out generally, even among black people. So there has been several times where I've been in meetings where I wasn't personally concerned, but I know that the people, white people, were definitely alarmed by my complexion. They were also alarmed by the way that I speak, because you may see someone that appears to look like me and there's a stereotype. Maybe you think that I don't know how to speak well. Maybe you don't know my history, my journey. I've been in many rooms where I go to places and I'm like, yeah, I own a business in Patterson, New Jersey. Oh, you own the business? Yes, I do own the business. You own the business? Yes, I do. I've been in many rooms where people look at me and they think, not you. Well, how old are you? It's been my skin color. It's been my hair. And even the length of time. I get the question, well, how long have you been in business? Well, actually, we've been in business for quite some time, but in this location, we've been here over 5, going on 7 years. So quite some time. And it's always funny to see, especially white people, how they respond to black business owners that are doing well, that are thriving, that have customers that can actually vouch for your work and say they do great work. So I've been in those rooms, but I've learned to rise above the feeling and know that every time that feeling happens, it's supposed to happen, because I actually want to make you so uncomfortable, because I'm leaving a legacy for other black women and especially my black son to come and own several businesses and show you that greatness is within him.
Yes, I've been in rooms and, you know, but again, I'm not an apologist. You know, I have a flag that I've designed, and guess what it has on it? Fried chicken and watermelon, because those things are fucking beautiful and they taste amazing, and I'm not gonna be shy about those things. Big lips are fucking beautiful, you know what I'm saying? You know, I am very proud of those features, you know what I'm saying? I am very proud of the way that we eat. I'm very proud of the way that we move, you know what I'm saying? And I'm never gonna apologize for that. And I'm tired of people, you know, apologizing for things that are inherently beautiful, you know? And that should have a place in this world as opposed to being shut out, you know what I mean? So, yeah, I've been aware of other people's discomfort, but I'm not an apologist. I was an apologist as a child, being a token black male and very around certain, you know, go to school with 1%ers, and they're talking about how much money they're going to inherit when they turn 18 or 21, and being embarrassed about being not inheriting wealth, but probably inheriting debt. You know what I'm saying? Or seeing that my features were not something that people, like girls, were attracted to, and then being like, damn, but when I go somewhere else, I'm the man. And saying, you know what? I'm gonna find my tribe. You know what I'm saying? So I stopped apologizing about my freshman year of high school. So yeah.
No, I have not personally, and that might be because I am, so black has different meanings. There's an advantage. The advantage for me is it allows me to walk in all circles, meaning I can be in a room full of my own people, blacks, Latinos, minorities, or in a room with those who are, non-minority, is probably the best way to say it, and still make myself comfortable in a way where I don't know I'm black. I'm just a human being in a room with others, and I kind of have broad shoulders, so for me, there's probably nowhere I've ever been where I felt I was out of place or out of touch, and that's just a confidence, and that comes from doing things over and over again. So my very first experience might have been college, many moons ago, nothing to do with business, but because of that foundation that was built years ago, no, I've never been in a place where I was kind of fearful of, my ethnic background, nor my education, for that matter. I didn't go to school for business. I went to school to work with kids, not knowing that the business opportunity I had when I went to school, and I was studying accounting and went in a different direction, had no idea that I would have a dire need for it later on in life.
I would say yes, but not necessarily that I'm in the industry where you have to be super professional. Well, you have to be professional, but on a corporate level. But through meetings, as far as clients come to you with things that they want money for, or an investment or something like that. Even when I was closing the deal on the shop, and what's funny is it wasn't even white people that I was sitting in front of. It was just black. It was older black people. Two, I'm a firm believer in not changing who you are when talking to anyone, but always be sensible and know how to get your message across without sounding ignorant. But yeah, I felt kind of uncomfortable at times because you could tell that they were from a suburban neighborhood growing up, and they probably went to private schools, and you can kind of catch those vibes from people when you talk to them. I'm not really necessarily from that background. Like I said, I was struggling coming up with my mother, so I always took to other people that were struggling as well. And 9 times out of 10, those are people that are, a little bit more urban than the other ones. And that's just naturally who I am. So yeah, to answer your question, I have felt uncomfortable, but that never stopped me from doing what I need to do.
I wouldn't say I've been in business meetings where I was concerned about that, but I've definitely been in the room. Been in a room in the design industry, been at a conference, been at a workshop, been at the design center, been anywhere that has to do with my industry, you name it, and felt like I was the oddball, felt like I did not fit in, felt like I had no one that I could connect with and identify with. I did not feel welcome. So absolutely, in that sense, yes. And that is not a good feeling.
One, if you're hesitating, is probably a fear of the unknown. Unknowns is everywhere you go and everything you do in your life. Most people don't realize that you'll start a job having attended 12 years of high school, 4 more years of college, and in some cases 4 more years, and you still start at the bottom. But you'll start a business, and after the first 6 months, you're looking to walk away. And I realize that no matter what, you're starting at the bottom, and you're working your way towards whatever that goal is. So those who are being fearful, one, know who you are as a person. know that you can't be afraid to fall out of the sky. If you have a dream, you look at it, you read it every day, and you don't stop until that dream is matched. Match really just means that you've hit a level where you're comfortable with what you're doing and you've mastered your craft. Once you've done that, there is no fear. There's no such thing as being fearful of something that you know about, because normally fear comes from things you just don't know anything about. So if you're fearful of it, understand what you're trying to do. Be the best at it. Learn that there's going to be bumps and bruises and doors are going to close. And when that door closes, you either go through that door or go around it. But being fearful is just part of the process towards the steps of wherever you want to go in anything you do in life.
Don't disappoint yourself by not starting. That's what it's, when you don't, you are disappointing yourself. Just go for it. You wouldn't be the first person failing at something. It's okay to fail, but fail and then you just get up, pick the pieces together, learn from the mistakes you make, and then keep just going at it. Don't let people tell you you can't do it, and don't even tell yourself you cannot do it, because that's a sign of weakness or you losing. So the moment you hear that word that I don't think I'm going to succeed, instead of you listening to that negative voice, why don't you listen to the positive one that tells you I can succeed, instead of you saying I cannot succeed? Some people are making it, they are not different from you. They might be ahead of you, but trust me, with hard work and everything, you might go past them. So just try, don't give up. Don't give up on yourself. Don't give up on your family. Don't give up on the society. Don't give up on the community. Do not give up on the state, and don't give up on the country, because everything is possible. So keep pushing, and we all get there.
Don't give up. Don't give up. No matter what anyone has to say, you are the only person that knows what you're capable of doing. And there wouldn't be any Barack Obamas, Michelle Obamas, Tiger Woods, whoever you could possibly think of as successful and black. There would not be any of that if they listened to people that were around them, and they wouldn't have so much respect that they have because they were listening to people that fall in suit with the way of whatever's going on at that moment. Like for instance, with my parents, their generation, they were always taught, go to college, get a job, work 40 years, whatever, retire, boom. And then that's your life. You get to enjoy your last 20 years, maybe 20 years of living. And that's just not really how the world works. It's people nowadays, they graduate in college and they're not even getting paid $50K coming out of college. So definitely whatever you feel in your heart that is right to do it. I was torn between not going to college and going to college when I was in high school. Not because I wanted to go to college, but because everyone around me, they were getting their acceptance letters, and I really didn't want to go to college. I just knew I was going to cut hair, and I saw how much money was in the business. I was getting my cosmetology license when I graduated, and that's what you need in order to, open your own business. You open your own barbershop, salon, whatever it may be. And it made me feel away because I felt like everyone else was getting accepted to college, and I'm just not doing anything really but cutting hair, and it kind of made me feel away. But lo and behold, I ended up going to college, and I enjoyed the experience of college, but as far as me being passionate and wanting to pursue what I went to school for, no, it wasn't for me, and it's not for everybody, and you just gotta respect that and stay true to what you know. So through that, I ended up dropping out. I had an opportunity to purchase my barbershop at the time when the opportunity was presented to me. I had my funds right through cutting hair, because I did that. I still worked and went to school at the same time, and I was able to get my foot in the door, open my own shop.
Make sure that it is something that you're truly passionate about, because it's not easy, right? Like I said, there's not a lot of us in it, so you want to make sure that this is something you truly want to do, because you have to pave your own way. In other words, there are people that you can look up to, but there's not many of us, right? So you still really have to break the mold, right? You still have to be willing to do the work and to put in the effort and to stand out and not try to just blend in. You don't want to be cookie cutter. You want to have your art, right, that represents your culture, designs that represent who you are and your personality at the fore of your designs, and you can't be afraid to do that. So I say, first and foremost, make sure it's something that you love and that you're passionate about.
First of all, everybody should be hesitant. You know, if you jump into something without some level of hesitation, that means you're not preparing, to me, accordingly. Like, you should weigh the pros and cons of all things, but the advice that I have to people about being hesitant is that you have to have faith, right? So if the people that are most hesitant are the people that are trying to cheat and they're trying to con their way into doing something, they're trying to con their way into excellence. And faith is about preparation, right? So people, whatever your word is, if you know your word, and my word being academics, if I'm trained in a certain methodology, then I know that I have faith that it's going to work. You know what I mean? I have faith in my product because I know that I've gone through all the steps. I've done the hard work and ensured that it's right, it's good, you know what I mean? It's excellent. And I think that when you haven't done the work, you haven't done the preparation, your hesitation will be, paramount to everything else because you know that you're not ready. But if you know that you're ready, you should move forward with that hesitation and translate that hesitation into preparation.
Do I have days that I regret owning a business? I never really regret anything, but I have lots of days where I would have done it differently. I think that I would have done a lot of things differently, but I would have still done it because I realized that this is a part of my story, and I'm leaving this legacy behind for my family, and I believe that I had to do this. So I don't regret it, but I would have done it differently.
Is it stressful at times? Yes, but I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. Being able to do things on your own time and not having to answer to anybody and being the guy to make the rules and not follow them is priceless. And I would never trade that for anything. So as far as regretting it, no.
Absolutely. There are days when I'm like, are you crazy? Why are you doing this? Earlier this year, 2019, I swear, I was at a point where I was like, I'm gonna have to give up. I'm gonna have to quit. And I had not gotten to that point in years, and I didn't know why that happened. I also felt very depressed over that idea, right? Because I worked so hard to get where I was, right, to where I am. But what I say to that is, when you have those days, understand that that is just the universe pushing you towards something greater. When that happened to me, I did not realize that it was time for me to expand, that I was becoming too complacent and too comfortable with where I was and everything that I had accomplished, and that I was getting a nudge that it was time for me to do something bigger, right? And I didn't realize that. I thought, like, what is going on? You know what I mean? What in the world is going on? Why can't I remain where doing what I'm doing the way that I'm doing it? You get too comfortable, right? And so you have to ask yourself, when those things happen, what is being required of you, right? So much is given, much is required. And that blessing that you worked hard for wants to grow and expand, and it doesn't want to stay, static and in one space. When you're destined for something great, you have to grow. So, yeah, that's what you do when those moments come. You put on your big girl your big girl draws, and you grow and you expand. And so that's what I did. I expanded into a new space, and I'm happy I made that choice.
I have regrets because there are certain aspects of the lifestyle that have caused me to do things that I have not been proud of. And that means not staying true to who I am or who I had committed to be as a you know, as a provider, like a husband or a father, or as a brother or as a son. And I don't regret things because I want to make my daughters proud of me. I want to make my family and friends and the people praying for me and rooting for me, I want to make them proud. So of course, I've had days that unfortunately I regret, but I try to, again, turning them into like learning moments that I like try to redemption. You know, everything is about redemption. If I can, even you can redeem a bad meal with good customer service. I can redeem bad customer service with a good meal. And if I get both of those right the next day, then shit, we can, you know, we can change a lot of perceptions, you know what I mean? I wish my life wasn't, or the aspects of my life, working for myself and owning different businesses, I wish it wasn't as hard on my daughters as it is. But when I hear them talk about, you know, how proud they are and of the restaurants and the brands and stuff like that, and, you know, kids are honest. Kids and old folks are honest. So when they say Burger Walla is the best, you know, they mean that. They're not, you know. So, yeah, I mean, you're gonna live, I think everybody should live with a sense of regret, because that teaches you what you should do to redeem yourself and to live accordingly. But the work itself hasn't caused me to regret anything. It's been my responses to the work that have caused me to act in ways that I regret. But I think I'm working my best to redeem myself, you know what I mean? So that at some point I'll get it right.
Who was my inspiration to start my own business? Honestly, I never really had an inspiration from somebody. My inspiration was the struggle, to be honest with you. You know, coming up, it's just me and my mother, really, that we live with each other. It's hard for any single parent that, you know, she doesn't have a college degree. And, you know, to make ends meet, you know, things get rough. So for me not wanting to live my rest of my life like that, I just always was business minded. And like in school, I used to just sell fruit snacks. Like they sold, the sports teams sold fruit snacks in order to raise money for the sports team. So what I did play sports, so it was easy for me to camouflage in all year round. I'm like, yo, I'm selling these fruit snacks for the baseball team. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. The whole time it's wintertime. We ain't even doing no type of practice or anything. And yeah, that money was going straight to my pocket. I got to a point where I was selling the fruit snacks with one box. It got crazy, so I picked someone else up, like, yo, sell that box, keep that amount of money off that, and give me the rest at the end of the day. And I'm doing this every week, so I ain't had to ask my mother for money, and I still was going to school. I ain't had to work really, because it was selling itself. And yeah, so definitely just the struggle and not wanting to live like that for the rest of my life.
I would have to say that it was my children. Although my children, my middle son especially, was very resistant to me starting my own business. He was just like, Mom, why are you doing this? You know, we need the security of your job in corporate America. You're gonna leave your job, open this store, and you might fail. And he was actually pretty sure that I would fail. He was like, Mom, it's not gonna work. You're gonna fail. And I remember listening to this teenage child say these words to me, and I knew at that moment that it was very important for me to do it more than ever now, because I needed him to understand that we don't always have to be employees. And yes, it's gonna take a lot of work, right? A lot of, you know, long days and nights. There's a lot that you have to put into it. But you have to be willing to invest that amount of time and energy and consistency into something that you love, so that you can be the boss of your own world, right? And you can make your own rules, and you can bring something innovative and impactful to the world. So he inspired me by discouraging me.
I mean, I've had a lot. Like I told you, my grandparents were very successful. My parents were even more successful on so many different levels. But I gain inspiration from everybody. I mean, you know, whether or not I love artists. You know, I grew up loving, you know, Keith Haring, Basquiat, Ralph Lauren, you know, Nas. You know, my brother was fly as hell before he died. You know what I'm saying? I find inspiration from everybody. Fela might be as inspirational. I mean, I literally am coming up with new menus to the thought of Lauryn Hill, you know what I'm saying? And the genius of Lauryn Hill. So, you know, but I'm just as inspired by like the dudes I saw on the block that were extremely successful and couldn't get out of their own way, you know what I'm saying? Kids that I grew up with that could afford an 8-ball jacket but succumb to 8 balls, you know what I'm saying? Like I'm inspired by LeBron, like you know, shit. My kids call him Uncle Bron, you know what I mean? It's like those things that I'm inspired by black excellence, world excellence that I can identify with. Like for instance, it's really hard for me to watch movies that are older than a certain age because I knew that they have, you know, this tender violence to them, you know what I'm saying? The undercurrent of violence that we were excluded from, you know what I mean? But then, you know, you have a wave of blaxploitation films and Gordon Parks and Nina Simone and stuff like that were just like, I'm not gonna apologize for blackness and being a super Negro. I wanted to achieve super negritude, you know what I'm saying? It's like that type of shit, you know? It's, you know, I think I draw inspiration from, you know, a lot of things, you know, my parents empowering me, you know, giving me the freedom to learn what feminine genital mutilation is, but then come home and play Super Mario Brothers. It's crazy, you know, taking me to, you know, eat McDonald's French fries, but also making sure that I got a samosa when we left the Met, you know what I'm saying? It's, yeah. It's like, those are my inspirations. I think that, you know, I like drawing inspiration from everyday people, you know, people that are not supposed to. It's really easy to fall in love with like a Martin, right? But not knowing that the cadence of a Fannie Lou Hamer is just as powerful, you know what I'm saying? Or why Baldwin is, you know, the precursor to Toni Morrison, you know what I'm saying? And what those words meant and how poetic they were and, you know, and how powerful they are, you know what I'm saying? You know, why Baraka could put on plays in the middle of the hood and still be a poet laureate, you know what I'm saying? There's balance, you know what I'm saying? There's a lot of balance.
One would be one of the richest men in the world, in my world, you know, would be, you know, Jay-Z, and that's because he is someone who came from nothing, and I use the term who rubbed 2 nickels together, took a talent and turned it into a multi, or in this stage, building down an industry. I tend to follow best I can by reading, watching videos, and being motivated by those who are successful. Andrew Carnegie is another one who I tend to follow a lot. I listen to his scenarios of how we built his brand as well. Those who are close to me, who I can reach out to, of course. One is Robert, who works in Amex. I call him, you know, drop of a dime and ask him do's and don'ts, and now I listen to him. Another mentor, of course, would be Biggs, who's like a brother to me. He also was part of the Rockefeller, startup of Rockefeller. I reached out to him as well and asked for his advice. I tend to find people who are doing 10 to 20 times better than what I'm doing, because that's kind of where I want to be. You know, I tend to say I am where millions would kill to be. I own my own business, a great family, great support system, and customers and fans who love what I do. And, you know, and I'm not patting myself on my own back, but, you know, Tony's Minnis is a brand that is internationally known, all through the grace of God. But nonetheless, I'm still 10 steps behind where I'm supposed to be in my own mindset. So that's why I allow the mentors who I reach out to be those who are 10 steps ahead of me. Nothing wrong with listening to those who are in your circle, who you can speak to, reach out to, but you want to be in a circle where those who are you around have aspirations that are stronger than yours, because that way it's someone who can pull you up when you feel like you're going in the wrong direction.
First of all, I would say it's my wife, Shelby, because when I was afraid to take the first step, she pushed me to, just go ahead and do it. But before her, it's, I would say my grandma, because, we were in the house like your extended family. You see your grandma staging, meeting things, and then saw my mom doing the same thing. And my aunties, my uncle, so it's like something that runs in the family, so people like that inspired me. Yes, the world might not know them, people might not know them, but they don't have to be famous in the world to inspire. It's somebody that nobody knows can also push you to do something. So most of the times, people answer this question by trying to look for famous people and all that. No, it's my wife, my grandma, my mom, family members, my uncles and my aunties that push me to do this, and I'm very happy with the inspiration because they didn't give up. So anytime I think about my grandma knitting or stitching my school uniform, I feel like, okay, I can also stitch something for someone. So she, and then my mom, they are my backbone to the business. So you ask, and I'll always say this, it's my mom and my wife, backbone of Gideon's Needle. They really inspire me every day. They push me even when I don't feel like going. When I feel like giving up, yes, argument and things come, don't get me wrong, but they still push you to do the right thing. And I'm a better person because of my wife and my mom. Yeah. So people should watch out for them.
Passing this business on to my children is what this has really always been about. For me, again, I quote a lot, legacy. So for me, I have a son, Tonnie B. Rozier, the fourth, which is why the business started. Best friend at the time, Bobby Burke, said to me when my son was born, you should name the business Tonnie's Minnis. And it wasn't so much mini anything, it was Tonnie's Mini. And that was because he was just born Mini Tonnie, the fourth. He's 24 years of age, 25 years of age now. My daughter, Savannah and Summer, also, there's a company called Savannah Sweets, which is named after her. Again, passing it on to them, all through, the likes of Tonnie's Minis. There's a Summer Sky Treats named after my other daughter, Summer, and of course Tonnie's is after, Tonnie's Minis. So passing this on is not even something that I can think twice about. I do this for them. I work the 12 to 15 hours a day for them in exchange often for not being able to be in their circle as much as I would like to. But the time and energy I'm putting into this business is for them and for their children. I want my great-grandchildren to say that the house we're in is a house that Poppy built back in 2015, 14, 16, 2022, 2030. That is my plan. That is what's on my vision board, that scenario.
This is a bit dicey, The moment people hear generational wealth, because the word is wealth, they think about money. Money is very good, but I don't want to focus everything on money. So for us, he is happy. I just want him to enjoy what he is doing. I want him to know that, he wakes up going to work and he's happy. Not just going to work because he's going to go make money to pay bills. That don't make you happy. I feel like, if you are working just to make money, then you have a problem. Because when you do the good thing, you get money. But when you go in for money, you get the money, but it doesn't stay. So, in as much as I would want to pass it on to him, okay, I wouldn't push him into it. I would want him to grow into it. I would want him to just have passion, have the interest, and then say that, okay, I think I want to continue. I think I want to do this. I just want to continue what dad or mom is doing and all that, just to make sure he also passes it on. But there is one thing that I tell people, even if he doesn't continue, trust me, his children, one will pick it up because it's in the family.
Get houses, real estate, that's my goal, that's my future. I don't want to work every single day, I want to enjoy life. So, you know, get buildings, properties, you pass them down. Whatever your kids do with it, they do with it. One of the guys I look up to, who you know, I used to do work in buildings for, painting like apartments that were vacant. His dad left him with 2 apartment buildings, and you know, he turned 2 apartment buildings, four families apartment buildings too. I don't even think it was that big, and he turned that to 32 buildings. One building I know for a fact makes at least $1 million a year. So you do the math on that and tell me that your kids and their kids can't eat off that and, you know, make a good living doing that.
It's interesting because at one point it meant nothing because it was non-existent, right? It doesn't exist. But changing that, right, is what now comes to mind when I hear it. And being the catapult for my family, this is the moment where I can change that, right? And I don't expect my children to want to do interior design. I don't expect that. I expect them to see me pursuing my passion and using that and being inspired by that and seeing that and deciding for themselves that they'll do the same. And navigating through their passion and discovering what their purpose is so that they can then build for themselves. But this is a legacy of confidence, right? This is a legacy of knowing that I'm trying to build here. This is a legacy not only of wealth, but spiritual wealth, not only of financial wealth, but spiritual wealth that I think will cause the change, right? Will be the change that we need in order to experience the manifestation of our passions.
So again, I talked earlier about like being a proud descendant of like people that were sharecroppers and bootleggers. But my mother will talk about never wanting for food. So if her mother was just a generation or 2 removed from being a people enslaved to having advanced college degrees and then becoming a millionaire, right? It means a lot to me because if you're playing a game and you tell me to tie my hand behind my back and we're gonna play a game of one-on-one and you got sneakers on, so I have no shoes, and then you're gonna change the rules every time I dribble, I'm gonna be proud of whatever wealth that my family has created and the legacy. But more importantly, it's not only about monetary value or things. I hope to just instill a mindset in my children of self-efficacy and self-determination that says, I can achieve what I want to achieve on my own. They may not want to do this shit, you know? And I respect that. They own their own lives, they own their own bodies, and they can do whatever they want, you know what I mean? What I'm just trying to do is empower them. My wealth is the tools of empowerment so they can make their own decisions and their own path to freedom. I'm not here to determine that for them. And you know, what's up, bro? So I don't necessarily think that it will be passed down. I may not have this. If somebody came to me right now and said and offered me the right amount of money to buy all of it, I would sell it tomorrow. Because these are just tools to achieve the goal of freedom. They are not like, this is in and of itself is not freedom, you know? So the only thing for sale are the tools that get me to that place, you know? And until I get to that place, by any means necessary, you know what I mean? So what I'm trying to do is work on tools. Like what I will say though is that I went through a generation of my grandparents being extremely successful, coming from nothing. You know, having illiterate parents to them having advanced degrees. And then building literally like my grandparents owned buildings and businesses, like apartment buildings. So these are black people that were millionaires by all stretch of the imagination, to the when they died, having none of it or all of it being in danger of foreclosure or something like that. So those are the ghosts that I'm trying to escape. You know what I mean? I'm trying to be empowered by them, but I'm also trying to escape the trappings of that have denied us of generational wealth. You know what I mean? When I drive by some of these buildings that I know my grandparents own, I'm upset, I'm hurt, I almost go into fucking tears that we still don't own these things. And who owns it now? And who owns like our community? You know what I mean? Like I'm here to own my own house so that I can own my own street. So that when I own my own street, I can own my own neighborhood. When I own my own neighborhood, I can own my own, you know, community. And when I own my own community, I can own my city. And then after that, you know, it's like, you know, it's freedom, you know what I mean? So generational wealth, I'm not here to determine what's gonna be for my children. They don't have to go to college. They don't have to buy into these businesses. It's up for them to decide. But hopefully I will have instilled within them tools and faith so they can make their own decisions, you know what I mean? To me, that's generational wealth. When they are allowed the same comforts and tools of freedom or access to freedom as the people that have traditionally owned, you know, the wealth in the world, in this country or whatever.
What is a quote that I live by? Never give up and don't fall to peer pressure. Those are two, but you know, they both apply.
A quote that I live by is one that I wrote myself, and it goes like this. Dear God, please breathe bravery down my spine and don't let me take a single breath until all my fears are suffocated. I wrote that quote a few years ago when I opened up my first showroom in Glen Ridge, and I decided that I would do it just for me, right? That whatever I put in there, be it graffiti art, whatever crazy designs that I put in there, they would come from the true essence of me and my heart and my soul and my experiences, and that I would collaborate with other artists and we would make dope things, really, really cool things that people could not get at, you know, any other showroom. I needed fearlessness in order to be in that space and in order to do that. And as an entrepreneur, all you have is your courage and your faith. So that's my quote, and I'm sticking to it.
One that I really love, okay, it's the one that says that, you know, when you want to go far, okay, you go with a group. But when you want to go fast, you go alone. Because, you know, when you are going fast, you don't want no distractions. When you are going fast, all your focus, your main aim, your goal is to get to where you are going. So you don't want to go with people that will kind of distract you. You know, I don't want to put it or relate it to the Bible, but you see, like Moses, you know, if Moses was going alone, I believe he would have gotten to the promised land. But because he had a lot of people with him, like these distractions and all that, we all know what happened. And then also, like, bringing it with me. Yes, when we started, I wanted to go fast, but then my wife would have to just hold me back and tell me that, hey, you have a community around you. You have people around you that you have to go with. So now I don't want to go fast. I want to go far. That's why when people come in here, I don't treat them like customers. I treat them like family members who understand the hassle of the business. You know, so everybody that is listening to me today, all I can say is, if you want to go fast, just go alone. But if you want to go far, just know that you are not an island. You need people around you. So you go with people. So when you get tired, you get weak along the way, they can push you up, they can lift you up, and then they'll help you get to where you are going.
It's like those things I trademark is, I'm chasing freedom. You know, I'm getting there. Those are two things that I live by. Because if my mother's thing was be the job great or small, do it right or not at all, I can only try and like try to live up to that mantra. But if I get there, I know that I'm going to achieve freedom, and that's what I'm chasing. You know what I mean? I'm chasing the ability to be completely free of all fetters. You know what I mean? Monetary, social, it doesn't matter. You know what I mean? I'm chasing freedom and I'm getting there. You know what I mean? Yeah.
That is a print. Okay, this is a print. This is also a print, but this is the woven one. So this is the original one.
Okay.
And like when I show you, when I bring it out here, we have two. It looks the same, but this is very light.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is the print, like the imitation, and this is the original. This is
the real deal.
The real deal. So this is hand woven. See. So you can go to the store, you see they go like, oh, this is $30, and you come in here, we tell you this is like 400. You go like, why is it 400? Because this is the real deal.
Mm-hmm.
Whoopi Goldberg bought 2 of these. I'm very proud of that. My first work was on canvas. These particular ones, these 2 here, were done in collaboration, along with the ones that were at the exhibit, with a fashion designer friend of mine. Her name is Erica Hicks of Milele Atelier. She helped me with a lot of the installations at the exhibition, and she did some on her own as well. So it was an amazing exhibition. But yes, these are, the vaginas are lit.